Good evening and Happy New Year from Washington. I'm Larry O'Connor, and today was the big day. The 118th Congress was to meet and convene and get down to business. And well, the first order of business is to choose the Speaker of the House. And well, they haven't quite completed that task yet. After three attempts, Kevin McCarthy still has yet to get the 218 votes needed to grasp that gavel. He's 14 votes short. And so they have adjourned for the evening, and now the wrangling begins. Between now and noontime tomorrow, there's going to be a whole lot of negotiations, a whole lot of push and pull, a whole lot of give and take, maybe some concessions from Mr. McCarthy so that he gets the speakership, or maybe the caucus has reached the point where they're going to move on to another candidate. Who might that be? And in the long run, does this really matter to the American people who just wants a Republican majority to start the business of stopping the Biden agenda and getting down to the investigations we've been wanting for several years? Well, to answer all of those questions and more, we've got senior columnist at townhall.com, the one and only Kurt Schlichter. All right, Kurt, go ahead, answer all my questions. The first one is, does this really matter to the American people who the Speaker of the House is? I mean, ultimately, we just want them to get to business regardless of who holds the gavel.
Well, Larry, I haven't seen so much failure, humiliation, begging, and tears since the last Bulwark wedding night. It's a total embarrassment. And, stop it. All of you, stop it. Okay. I like some of the insurgents. I like some of the people supporting McCarthy. I've got no particular use for McCarthy, but he's won 2 elections in a row, something Mitch McConnell can't say and something Ronna McDaniel certainly can't say. So I think let's get on with this thing. You've made your point. I don't know what they're trying to do. Here's the thing. McCarthy has given a bunch of concessions. Yeah. They have now added new demands. I don't know how you negotiate with that. I don't know what the plan is. What's the strategy here, Larry? How does this end up with Republicans doing better? It sounds like petty grievances. And I'm not a pal of McCarthy. I don't care if McCarthy's speaker or someone else is. Right. But someone has to be.
Yeah, and they need to get on with it. But that said, I mean, all of the joking and laughing and finger pointing, look at the chaos, Republicans can't get their act together. Actually, I kind of like the fact that Republicans have an independent streak, a bit of a rebellious streak, a bit of a hell no attitude. It's much better than just walking in lockstep like the Democrats always do and salute smartly at their fearless leader.
Look, I don't have any problem with the insurgents saying, hey, you've got to bargain with me. That's politics. I understand that. And I like a lot of the things they want to do. But what's the end game? What's the end state? When do you take yes for an answer? When you have some of these guys going, I'll never vote for McCarthy. Okay, what's your plan, dude? And I never get an answer. I'm not on McCarthy's side. I'm on the Republican side. I want to see this get done. I don't see an objective. Yeah. It's meaningless and it's annoying.
It's these same 19 Republicans from all 3 ballots. The only difference is by the 3rd ballot, they had all coalesced around Jim Jordan, the Republican from Ohio, who, by the way, did not want his name even put up on the ballot. He would be the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, which would be a very important committee handling the Hunter Biden investigations and the restructuring potentially of the FBI and investigations into what the FBI has been doing for the last several years. So I don't know if I want to take him from that spot to what is kind of a meaningless ceremonial position like Speaker of the House. What do you think happens overnight tonight? Do you think that McCarthy is going to finally, wrangle the majority that he needs, or do you think they're going to emerge tomorrow with somebody else to coalesce behind?
Well, the problem is when you don't have an objective, there's no way to negotiate. Look, I negotiate for a living. Just an hour ago, I was negotiating a major case settlement. But I know what I wanted. The other side knew what it wanted, and we're coming to an agreement because everything doesn't change every time somebody says yes. Eventually, I have to take yes for an answer. I don't know where we get to yes. And when there is no yes, then it's not political. Then it's personal. And I don't care if you don't like Kevin McCarthy. Hey, I don't like Kevin McCarthy. But who's your alternative? I'm about winning. I'm about not being embarrassed.
Yeah.
And all of that is in danger right now. If these guys screw up and get some never Trump sissy who's put in with a bunch of Democrat votes, that is going to permanently tar the conservative movement. And I don't blame people for not trusting us if we squander their trust by being non-strategic.
Yeah, the beef against McCarthy, and I agree with you. I mean, unlike McConnell, he's won. Even in
Yeah,
2020, when the president lost, he actually grew
yeah.
his minority at the time and brought it within 4 seats of Nancy Pelosi. So I'm not as anti-McCarthy as many people are. Some would argue, though, that he has a track record of making bad deals with Democrats and going along with Nancy Pelosi when he didn't have to, when he could have held the line. That's a valid point, I think. But I guess the question, at your question that we keep coming back to, is what's your plan? What's your solution? And who are you offering? And the best they can do is offer Jim Jordan for 19 votes. Seems like it's time to step aside and let the business of the House move forward.
Look, there are reasonable resolutions there, and I want them to make it. I want them to go and find a solution. Right now, I think too many of them are enjoying the spotlight. Too many are enjoying being the sand in the gears. And while that's fun when you're in the minority, when you're in the majority, you've got to govern. How are these guys going to get us to govern? They
Yeah.
are risking the credibility of the conservatives. Look, we used to love the House Freedom Caucus, but guys, you're looking like schmucks. And I say that with love as a friend. You're looking
Well,
like schmucks. Get your stuff together and get it done.
and let's be clear, it's not the entire Freedom
No,
Caucus. Jim Jordan is in the Freedom Caucus,
yeah.
and he gave a passionate endorsement of Kevin McCarthy. Unless this is all politics, let's set it aside for a minute. Just speculate for a second with me. Is there someone who could emerge that could satisfy the McCarthy wing and
I
satisfy
don't
the
know.
Freedom Caucus? I think if Scalise were to step forward tonight and say, you know what, I'll fix this. Scalise is number 2 to McCarthy. He's been incredibly loyal. Maybe that's the way forward. Some people, you're saying they need to step aside. There are others that say, listen, McCarthy's had his shot. He hasn't been able to get it. He needs to step aside.
That is absolutely legitimate. At some point, McCarthy may have to jump on the grenade. Again, I'm totally unsentimental. I don't
Yeah.
care about Kevin McCarthy's personal feelings. He's like, I've earned this. Don't care. Not
Yeah.
important to me.
Now, this is not an inheritance. This is
No,
not a title
no,
you just that gets passed
no,
down through the generations.
no.
Forget it.
Kevin McCarthy is useful to the exact extent he is useful. He's not one of my friends. Some of my friends are in Congress, and got to say, they're also useful to the extent they are useful. Being my pal or being my enemy doesn't matter. I'm here to win for the Republican Party and the conservative movement because our country's in danger. I don't care about anything else. I'm not
Well,
loyal to a politician, and I'm not going to let my pet peeves get in the way of doing what needs to be done.
hopefully
Guys, get it done.
by this time tomorrow, we should hopefully know who the Speaker of the House is, and then we can get down to business. Kurt Schlichter, author of Inferno, latest in his Kelly Turnbull series of thrillers, and of course, senior columnist at Town Hall, our favorite site on the webs, considering I write there, and it's part of the Salem family. Thank you, Kurt. You know, one thing we can definitely all agree on is that we can't wait to see David French's column about this tomorrow in the New York Times. More to come on O'Connor Tonight.